there was a lot of the things I was doing to impress other people. You know, I wanted to buy certain clothes to look really nice in front of certain girls. You hit the club on a Saturday or Friday night. I was always living for the weekend. Paychecks were coming in straight to shopping center and let's see if I can get a quick new fit because I want to look nice. I want to be peacocking and I want to make sure that I get the right 10 out of 10 this week.
You say 10 out of 10?
Public speaking, I know that I don't enjoy it. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
People may come up to me afterwards and say, hey, you're fine in that. But in my head, I hated every second of it. I was sweating and...
Let's use the word anxiety, not to say that you have anxiety day to day, but you had an anxiety because I remember you speaking to me about it 24 hours before going into it. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So yeah, and honestly, I give you your flowers, Sid, because there's so much that you've gone through. There's so much that you battled through that makes me think, damn, this guy's a real superhero.
I get asked the question a lot of times, oh, Sidney, you know, Teddy's been on TV a lot. He's been on Love Island. He's done this. He's done that. Why? You know, we see a lot of you in Teddy. Why aren't you doing it? And I give them a very standard answer, which is real. I don't believe that was my path. I genuinely don't believe that was my path. You know, I think I could have done it, but I don't want to. I think there is something here for me to do with people on a large scale.
Welcome guys, welcome to Teddy Talks, another episode, and my name is Teddy Soares.
Joined by Sidney, his brother.
Yes, and we are very excited to have you again. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you are here for lots of valuable gems and to feel empowered so that you can attack your day, your month, your year. Let's just get it. Let's get it. What are we talking about today, Sid?
I don't know. What's on your mind? What
on
have
my
you been
mind
feeling
today?
recently?
I'm gonna deflect, my bro. I'm gonna deflect.
You're gonna deflect.
Yeah, I'm gonna deflect. I feel like it's always, so far anyway, it's always been about what's on my mind.
I mean, the show is called Teddy Talks.
It is called Teddy Talks. It is called Teddy Talks, but I want to know what's on your mind, because I feel like as much as it is called Teddy Talks, I want to dive into Sidney and the mind of Sidney today. So what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind today? Well, I will kick us off with the quote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that there is a quote that I came across recently. I'll share it with you and the audience. It's you strive to please others to fit in and feel accepted. In spite of that, you still don't feel accepted, and not because others don't accept you, but because you haven't accepted yourself as you are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff.
Why did that hit home with you?
I like this one because sometimes when I scroll through my phone and I look at my photo album, and you know, sometimes when you're like playing around on your phone and you click the top of the screen by accident on your iPhone and it takes you right to the top. And then I see a really old photo of myself from like 2013 or 2011. And
sometimes my ex is roped into that.
Yeah,
one.
and you see people in your life who are no longer in your life. And I look at myself then, and I look at myself now. I'm like, wow. Oh, he was doing all right, but I don't want to be that guy. And there was a lot of the things I was doing to impress other people. You know, I wanted to buy certain clothes to look really nice in front of certain girls. You know, for moments when the weekend would arrive and you hit the club on a Saturday or Friday night. I was always living for the weekend. Paychecks were coming in straight to shopping center and let's see if I can get a quick new fit because I want to look nice. I want to be peacocking and I want to make sure that I get the right 10 out of 10 this week. And there's a lot of toxic.
You say 10 out of 10? I just wanted to clarify.
Listen. I can't speak because the words of Joseph been reading. If I speak, I'm in trouble. So, you know, I chose this quote because I feel like not just myself, but a lot of us, we do things because we're seeking validation. We do things because we're seeking validation, and we're entering a new year. I don't know when this episode will drop. Maybe it will be in 2024. But perhaps in the previous year, you were constantly seeking validation. Not you in the context of this conversation, but anyone who's listening, you may have been seeking validation from your friends or from your family or from your relationship. And I know I've been guilty of that too. And it just felt very topical for today's conversation. I stumbled across this quote and I think, actually, yeah, let's talk about this because people post on social media a lot because they're seeking likes. You know, they want to be keeping up with their Kardashians. And, you know, when they
Is that the actual way that they... Is that the name of the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians? I'm sure it is, right?
Yeah,
that was a good pun. I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, you see what I did there?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. I didn't know you would pick it up.
Yeah. You took me a while. I said that's good.
It landed. But yeah, you hear what I'm saying, right? I mean, how do you feel about that quote?
Oh, that quote hit.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's any need for me to talk about my quote now because, to be honest, I think I spoke about it in the episodes of SAS where, for the most part, and they do this really well, by the way. A lot of the things I mentioned in SAS, I didn't even envision it would be coming out of me. It was like revelations I was feeling, and it was kind of happening as I was being pressured and pushed by the DS, because you know it's a grueling show, right? For those of you that have watched it, you know, they're really putting you through their paces. There's some army guys, veterans in the game of war, who push a bunch of celebrities, and actually not just celebrities. There's also a show that's outside of people that are in the public eye as well. And they're pushing you to your absolute limit. But whilst they're pushing you physically, mentally, they're tapping into things that is really diving into personal things, which for me was to do with abandonment. It was to do with seeking validation all the time. So feelings that I haven't really had time to sit down and kind of go through. So that quotation that you've brought up really resonated for that reason, actually.
When you say that there were some revelations that were coming out when you went on SAS, and I think I'm really glad that you attacked this from this angle, because when people are seeking validation, that's a surface level thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Underlying, there's other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That pushes them to seek validation. So what was the things that were happening under the hood of Teddy's car that was, you know, causing you to seek validation?
It's a weird one, because initially when I went onto the show, I knew I was going onto the show thinking that, oh my God, like so many people is going to be thinking it's Teddy from Love Island. Oh, it's just a pretty boy. And there's that. But I think most people that are on Love Island that go on SAS have that. They have to deal with that. But for me personally, I took it really personal, because I am a guy that's good with my hands, and if I'm being real, I'm someone that also likes to get stuck in. Um, and even though I do like to get stuck in, and I'm someone that is good with certain aspects of just day-to-day habits and life activities and things like that, um, I still seek validation. So I'll still message you or message my management or message my other siblings and ask, what do you think about this? And it's sometimes in scenarios where I don't need to do that. It's just like, in fact, Teddy, what do you think about this? Upload it. Or just do whatever it is I'm doing at the time. So I think whilst going into SAS, you don't have your phone, you don't have, it's very similar to when I went into Love Island. You don't have any devices that's attached to social media, so you don't know what's going on in the real world. So for me, it's kind of, okay, I'm actually doing all these difficult tasks and I'm not on the phone to my bro or my mum or anyone asking what they think about certain situations. I'm literally attacking something I've never done before, they've never done before. So like I'm kind of in a realm of figuring things out, and that's a very powerful place to be in, because you learn so much, you gain so much value from that. Even if you fail, it's like, oh my god, I failed, but I got to a certain point, or I didn't. In some circumstances, I didn't even get to start, but I know why. And it's that figuring things out. It's that element that really in the realm that they put you in SAS, I'm referring to, there's so many aspects of it that makes you think, wow, I can survive 24 hours without eating in the same way that I was eating before. I can survive 24 hours, or even in some cases 48 hours without needing a shower, even though that's something that I really value every single morning, or definitely, certainly before I go to bed, a morning routine, evening routine. So knowing that there's certain things that they strip away from you that you don't necessarily need, and you're living to the bare minimum, really kind of simplified for me that I don't need the validation that I'm always seeking in certain situations. What about for you? So like in your situation, in the day-to-day of Sidney, why do you think, if ever, sometimes I know that you're very headstrong, but if ever, why do you think you would ever seek validation? For what reasons do you even place an importance on validation?
So I'm going to speak to this from the perspective of how I've changed. And
From what to what?
From when I looked at that photo of myself from 10 plus years ago versus now. And I remember at the time, I used to be a very, very sociable person, in the sense that I am still very approachable. I can speak to anyone. If I'm stuck in an elevator with them, I can get to know them and stuff. That's not an issue. But when I say I was very sociable, I constantly exposed myself to social events. I wanted to be at everything. There was a fear of missing out. I was very public with the things I was doing, in terms of I was oversharing. I remember at the time, you wouldn't say oversharing, depending on whether you like posting a lot on social media or not. But at the time, I remember I used to post so much on Snapchat stories.
Oh yes,
Everything, everything. When Snapchat was a thing. Now we look at it, it's like, oh, the young ones are on Snapchat. Oh, what are they doing?
They're just figuring it out.
But back then, I remember I was a snapaholic. There was a story about everything that I was up to, from my food to going to the gym to like when I was on a night out, some really embarrassing ones, like loads of cringy stuff. And looking at myself now, I'm so private. I hardly post. And when I do post, I don't really post that. I don't really show too much.
Why is that? Why do you feel like
notice
it's such a contrast?
Within myself, I become more present. You know, I like to take everything in and remember what's happening and enjoy it. You know, really enjoy this glass of whiskey that we're having together and this conversation that we're having, and not really get lost into what am I going to do after we finish shooting this podcast? What is Teddy actually saying? What did he say that was, you know, really interesting? Instead of really trying to film this moment whilst he's talking, and now I'm missing out on a certain moment that we could have really, really celebrated properly.
But do you think there's a world in which you or anyone for that matter could be present and also attach a small snippet of being present on social media as well?
Absolutely. I think that you can be present as well as someone who captures moments and presents it to people in your life who you want to share it to, whether it's close people or, you know, the public. And, you know, within myself, that's something that I know I want to work on more.
Is that healthy though? Like, do you think that's healthy? Like, is it because everyone, I'm sure, I'm not a therapist, but I'm 99% sure that most people would value being present over, oh, this needs to be on social media, right? So okay, better question actually. What's your thoughts on the balance between the two?
Yeah. So for me, how I figure it out is I ask myself the question, what is my purpose of doing this thing? And, you know, I've given you my reasons for being present, but okay, what would be my reasons for posting on social media? You know, if I'm sitting in your chair, you've got a job to do, as well as it's something that you enjoy doing. And, you know, sitting in my chair, once upon a time, I really enjoyed doing that. Like, my personality was geared around that, as well as all the other things that I was interested in, you know, whilst I was at uni and, you know, playing football and doing all the stupid stuff that a young boy does, spending his paychecks. And
I'd love to go into that stupid stuff.
But, yeah, you know, all of the stuff, all of the mistakes. And okay, yeah, now I would say, yeah, I'm a lot more measured with my approach and what I'd like to do with myself and my life. But I don't have a purpose for posting on social media. So when that moment presents itself, it's like, I don't have to. And
I hear that.
Okay, now we're talking on Teddy Talks. I have a purpose of posting this moment on social media because this matters to me.
Yeah.
Right. I want more people to hear about this story, you know, of two brothers talking on a podcast, sharing moments together and perhaps picking up some valuable nuggets which they can share with their friends or their family.
Hopefully it helps them.
Yeah, and hopefully it helps
in
them.
Their situations, yeah.
And some of the things that they'll say back to us will help us talk about things that are even more relevant. So I'll have a purpose for posting. So I think that I know we've gone a little bit on a tangent from seeking validation, but I think that if you are seeking validation from someone or something, it's really important to ask yourself why. I agree. What's the purpose of what's going on here?
Do you know why? I also really agree with that, because there is a part of social media that's slightly changed from your uni days, from those days where you were posting on Snapchat. There's a period, When were you in uni again? What year would we say that was?
I think this was 2013 to 2016.
So 2013, 2016. So somewhere in between that time, people started to understand that you can monetize off social media. And it's no longer that moment when we were on Instagram, way back when Instagram first was established, and people were just posting just to put a beautiful picture on Instagram. It's not necessarily about the likes. It's not necessarily about anything superficial. It's more about I've just created the best photo that's got the best graphic on it that looks like the bee's knees on social media. I sound like an old man by saying the bee's knees, but you know where I'm coming from, right? So it just looks like, it looks unbelievable on Instagram. That's where I feel like things started changing. It's as much as I know that, because kind of what I'm hearing from you is you grew up, but where I don't agree with, I can't not agree with you not posting, let's be honest, but where I think you potentially would have stopped posting on Instagram is because it doesn't serve you anymore. It's like you're no longer needing to post on Instagram and share a photo because maybe you're sending it straight into the group chat, or maybe you're sending it straight into a family chat, as opposed to putting it on social media, which is why initially I was on Facebook. I was on Facebook because I want the rest of my family and friends to see what I'm up to. Instagram then comes out and I'm just putting everything on Instagram because I want to put a lovely photo on Instagram. And I still kind of have the same mentality now. I still want to put the image of what I'm up to on Instagram as opposed to brand deals. And if I'm if I'm working with a brand, it's more of because I genuinely live through that brand in some capacity. All Saints, I always shop at All Saints, so that's why I worked with All Saints. Jack Wills, once upon a time, I was actually wearing Jack Wills comfort wear, and that's why I thought it'd be fantastic to collaborate with a brand that I used to wear growing up. Every other brand deal has the same sort of ethos, so I kind of feel as though the validation of what you're talking about has had, correct me if I'm wrong, has had a mixture of society changing as well as Sidney growing up and moving away from the change of society because it doesn't serve you anymore.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, there's cultural influences there, and there's also, I've changed too. And you know, as you were talking there, I was also thinking about what are the root causes of seeking validation. And you touched on being on SAS and revelations coming out, that, you know, you realized that you had been seeking validation in certain moments, and it had potentially been linked to certain patterns early in your childhood or in previous relationships. What were some of the learnings that you're comfortable with sharing today that came out of the SAS experience?
It's interesting because I'm glad you asked me that question. I think it's a fantastic question. And I love that you've deflected this validation topic on me, but I actually, when I came out of SAS, I remember being on the phone to you and Carlos, and I was saying, look guys, I've hit a revelation. I realized that I always seek validation from you guys. I've had enough. I don't know if you remember that conversation. And I sort of said, yeah, I always, I don't know, I've come to the conclusion that I always seek validation from you guys. And Carlos said something so powerful at the time to me that really opened my mind up a little bit more and took a little bit less pressure away from that thought process of mine. And it was that there is, in a nutshell, there's good validation, and there's sort of bad or unnecessary validation. And it was the idea that there's certain advice that you would ask from people around you that it's more beneficial for you to ask them because they've got more experience. So take it from a business sense. An MD or a managing director or a CEO doesn't have all the tools in his box to make the business operate at the most optimal point or version or the maximum capability that the business can operate at. They need a tech engineer, they need a HR department, they need sales, they need marketing, they need specialist departments within the company in order to excel or take the business to the next level or even be stable. And that's how I kind of took my personal life, and when he responded to me in that way, also empathizing with where I was coming from, because generally, I was just asking validation for anything and everything because I potentially got lazy in my own mind. But
when you say potentially though, did you?
Yeah, it got to a point where I'm like, I'm just asking for any reason rather than, doing my own due diligence, which I think can be a habit. That could be something that you can get into. But I understood the value in essentially two minds is better than one, which is kind of what I understood where he was coming from. So asking someone that's got experience in, I don't know, what context can I give? Okay, I'm having a shit day, for example's sake. So asking a therapist or talking to a therapist about my day that could really break down the emotions and the way I'm feeling and really give me some context beyond my own self-thought is way more powerful than just taking my own opinion, if that makes sense. And that can be taken however you want. Like I know that there's people that can't get access to therapists, but my view and my opinion is if you have a therapist that can potentially diagnose you and, go through the conversations that you need to go through to get to a healthier state of mind, is way more powerful than thinking that you can just do everything yourself. I do believe that you can potentially do everything yourself, don't get me wrong, but it takes a high level of self-awareness for you to get to that point.
So you've talked about healthy validation and unhealthy validation. But you side-skirted my question a little bit, and I know I know you know that you did that. You did that for a reason. So
ask me the question again.
The question was the root cause of seeking validation for you. What do you think it was? What was some of the learnings that came out of that SAS experience?
Let me simplify it then.
Yeah.
I do think it's a lack of confidence. I also think it's it's hard because I wouldn't say I have insecurities that warrant. Maybe I do. I don't know. I don't know.
I believe we all do to some level.
To some level, I think we have, but I don't know whether or not that's attached to why I seek validation. I think the validation that I seek is a lack of confidence. Is the fact that I'm a people pleaser. So whenever I'm doing something, I don't want to upset the next person and the person after that. I always want to make sure that everyone in the room is happy. So whenever I've seeked validation, it's always because I'm kind of worried about how it might impact someone around me. Does that person think that I'm vain? I'm always worried about someone else as opposed to what's within. So
So for someone who, because you've gone through this yourself, and you know everyone's on a continuum of battling their insecurities. At some point in your life, you're conquering them. At some point, you're getting beat up. You're getting punched in the face all the time.
Exactly that. It's ups and downs.
It's ups and
100%.
downs. So for you, you know, you've gone through the SAS experience. Some fantastic revelations have come out. How have you taken that experience onto your day-to-day life, posting on Instagram, knowing that you used to seek validation, knowing that you used to speak to Carlos Sandai and anyone else or management about some of the things that you wanted to do, which may not have always been important, but you wanted to seek validation around those things. How? And I'm asking you this question because other people might be listening. Like, I seek validation too. So how did you be conscious of it daily and do something about it? How did you do that?
Well, now, because I always knew that I asked questions for whatever it may be, posting, caption, approval for branding to management, sometimes even messages, some messages that I might send to another family member or a friend. I knew I was doing that before, and I was doing it unnecessarily in some circumstances. Now, I know I have the urge to still want to do that. However, the difference is, I think, I hope management, if you want to chime in on this, I hardly ask management for certain things that I used to. I used to ask certain questions around. And again, the thing is, I don't. One thing about me, and I think my audience understands, certainly the people that are closest to me, family, friends, I don't put pressure on a lot of things. I'm very relaxed. I'm very calm. So I took that into this next chapter of when I came out of SAS and thinking, okay, now I can really believe in the fact that I can is the main thing. Like that moment of I can, you know, I can hike down this mountain, which I actually thought that there could be a possibility that I might have a fear of heights. Oh, I can actually do this. I can actually abseil on a wire that's thin, that's less, you know, it's got more of a chance of killing me than it would me being on a roller coaster that's in Hyde Park or Thorpe Park or whatever. So there's moments that I could take away when I was in SAS and believe that I can, but I still came out of SAS doing things that I don't know would suggest that I'm now out of the validation stage. I'm now asking more advice as opposed to validation, and I'm asking less advice. I'm doing things that would suggest that I'm prepared to fail and I'm prepared to reap the repercussions of Teddy's decisions, as opposed to, oh, I asked that person and it didn't quite work out and it's that person's fault, as opposed to, you know, I've made a decision. What would I take from that? And that's where that's where I was pre-Love Island. That's where I was pre-Love Island. It was
that state of mind
of I'm just happy to fail. And then when I fail, let's learn from it and move forward. And I think that's the balance between why I was specifically asking for validation and what's changed when coming out of SAS. Because when I came out of SAS, I wasn't so bothered about failing. I wasn't so bothered about doing things and, I was prepared to go to the brink of death before I then decided to ask, oh, can you help me do this? I remember when, I hope Amber remembers this, but Amber in SAS was helping me, because obviously I can't swim. So she was helping me balance on my Bergen to kind of swim to the next spot of us potentially being, or not potentially, but definitely being tortured. So she was helping me through that. And really and truly, in those moments, I would be like, no, I don't need your help. I'm good. But really accepting that as good help, as in a good validation, was fine. Like, it's like, okay, she's kind of taking me through this moment, but there's a good reason for that. It's because I can't swim, and it's because of all these kind of mitigating circumstances. But I do genuinely think that there's moments in life where you don't need that leg up, but you'll take it anyway. And I got into a habit of kind of taking validation from people because it was easier that way. And it was easier to kind of, palm that off to someone else helping me make that decision. And if it doesn't work out, hey, it was your fault.
Yeah. So now that you've come out of SAS, you found your new, a new form of confidence, so to speak, and you've also challenged some of your limiting beliefs, because the opposite of I can is that I can't, right? And I'm now just wondering about, what are the positive implications of doing things yourself? What have you found?
Oh, there's so much power in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much power in doing things yourself. And if it doesn't work out, there's so much power in, it didn't work out, but you can retrace those steps. You can really go through the motions of, next time I can do it differently. But what I will say is, I'm all for working as a team, but I don't know if you remember when you work as a team, and like, that there's a top performer within that team, and you're relying on that top performer to kind of pull you through. I think there's lots of moments in life where we rely on that. It's like, oh, this person's more experienced, so working as a team means relying on that other person. No, working as a team means, okay, you've been allocated a task. You still fulfill that task to the best of your ability. If your portion of what you were supposed to do within that task doesn't work out, we learn from that and we move on. And there's lots of moments within the last 2 years where I can kind of cherry pick the, not that I was relying on anyone else, but it was more of a fact that I could have pulled a bit more weight. I could have put a bit more effort into certain situations where, I've really owned this moment. I can take it away now and really grow. Now I look back, I have the foresight to be able to do that, but I can now take it from a different point of view and grow from it. Luckily, obviously, I've kind of got a bit of self-awareness where I can sort of say that to myself. But in those moments, it was a validation thing. And don't get me wrong, I think seeking validation isn't a bad thing. I don't think.
When does it become toxic?
When does it become toxic? I think it's when you stop thinking for yourself and you start relying on other people. It's the relying part that I wasn't comfortable with. And that's me personally. I don't think it's a bad thing to rely on family, but I think in my circumstance, because I know that you're very smart, I know that Carlos is very smart, and in some aspects, I really value that to the point that I'm just like, do you know what? I'll just send a message to my brother, ask him what he thinks, and I'll just take that as gospel. But then slowly, I think if you rely on that too much, you can get into a habit of not thinking for yourself and not making mistakes for yourself. And then the domino effect is you're not growing. So even though Carlos said to me at that point that, you know, there's good habits and bad habits, it's just being aware of what those are. You know, if you're at work, right, and you're doing something niche, let's say you're a dentist. You're a dentist, right? Do you really think that a dentist is going to call his brother or call his mum and be like, this patient of mine really wants veneers? I think that it would probably be better off giving them braces. What do you reckon? Your mum, brother has never done anything regarding dentistry or taken any sort of lessons around that. So like you have no right to ask them that. And it's pretty similar to like where my mindset was at. You know, I'm asking questions that...
Get advice from experts if you want expert advice.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the nail on the head. And even then, depending on what you're into. So from my world, it's social media, it's being a TV personality and what have you. You know, this whole podcast, for example, say, I'm not going to be like, Mum, what do you reckon I should talk about this week? Right? Whereas, not to say that before SAS that would have been my habit. Who knows? Maybe it could have been. But there is a danger where you can rely on validation so much that you get into the habit of asking all these questions and not even having your flavor attached to what you really believe in. And I think social media nowadays can really... I think social media and the way that the world is can really set people up for that kind of frame of mind. And I think not everyone's going to have the benefit of jumping on SAS, but this is why we're doing Teddy Talks. It's to be able to really shed some light on the fact that, you know, your mind, and I think I spoke about this on a previous episode before, but every single person has a light within them. They have a spark. They have a bright spark within them. You know, I genuinely believe that everyone has been put on this earth for a reason. And I think Jay-Z or someone of that ilk has spoken about this before. But your talent is your talent. Like, you can't do the same thing as Tom, Dick, or Harry or whatever. But you have a niche. And whatever that niche is, if you lean into that, if you can lean into that, why would you need validation from anyone else? Why would you? Yes, don't get me wrong. Like I say, and I stress, advice from a sound engineer if we're talking music, a producer or director if we're talking film, work if we're talking your sales manager giving you some advice on how you tackle one of your clients. What other example? Your teacher in school telling you how you tackle an equation, telling you how you tackle an algorithm or whatever. That kind of validation, that kind of advice certainly makes sense. But when it comes to core decisions within your life, is this woman good enough for me? Is this guy good enough for me? That's something that you can't ask from someone else, right? You can't ask that from your mum, your brother, because there's certain moments within that relationship that they'll never live through. Another example that I can give is, All right.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate before you move on.
Yeah, go on. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
What if the people around you, the closest people around you, are not always necessarily gonna be experts in the thing that you're doing, but they are your support network?
Yes.
So you are going to seek some level of support from them, and you need to be able to distinguish between what is validation versus support. And when I mean support, right, is like when I'm going through hard times, you know, I've got my friends and family that I can lean on.
In relation to what though?
In relation to anything, I'm
Like
having a tough time at work, or I'm having a, you know, I thought I was gonna get a Grammy after releasing this album, and the critics said it's a 2 out of 10, and I'm beating myself up about it. Or you spoke about film. I thought this was gonna be a $100 million box office smash hit, and you know it's only done 5 million in the first week. What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
You know, so, and then you turn to your loved ones, you turn to the friends around you, and you ask for advice. What do I need? What should I do? What should I do? Is
It's
it right?
interesting.
Is that okay then?
But there's two things there. It's what are you looking for? Are you looking for emotional support, or are you looking for support around how you do better next time? If you're looking for emotional support, 100% go to your family, tell that they can fluff things up for you. But if you are looking for, in the examples that you gave in music, if you're looking for advice on how do I do better, you know, you're looking at speaking to people that have had Grammys before. You're looking at speaking to people that have been around that person that have won that Grammy. So the sound engineer, I'm not well versed in music, so I don't know, but I'm just spitballing here. But I'm thinking the people that have helped build up that album that won that Grammy. You're looking to speak to all these different individuals that can then help you deliver whatever you're trying to deliver that is still authentic to you, because you're not trying to do what the Grammy winner what the Grammy winner did. You're trying to do your own version of your authentic beauty or whatever you're trying to put out. It's authentic to you.
What if you never win that Grammy? So the relationship you have in your mind with seeking the Grammy out in the first place is toxic. Because maybe, I don't know, you put the best music out there. Like you are the best of the best. Like you've got, your stats are crazy. No one beats you when it comes to statistics. But you never win a Grammy. Maybe, I don't know, you probably slept with someone on the panel, which means you'll never ever win it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So what if you have a toxic relationship with a Grammy, and the Grammy could be anything. It could be like the shiny thing at the end of the rainbow, you know, the trophy. What I'm trying to get at here is that people seek validation for different reasons, and how do we fixate on things that don't deserve us?
It's that. It's exactly that. It's why are you seeking the validation? What's the reason for it? I would even go further to, I want that Grammy. Why? Why do you want that Grammy? Like, what is it serving? Does winning the Grammy mean, and we're talking about Grammy. Let's
It could be an Oscar. It could
let's
be
strip away from that.
It could be a Golden
Whatever
Boot.
you're doing, there's a reward at the end of it. Why is it that you want that reward? You know, is it because there is financial gain? Is it because, you know, it means that that's the pinnacle of what you can do? Put it in the context of work, because, you know, you're from a working world. My background is a working background in terms of sales, and outside of sales as well. But most of my targets meant that I would get a shiny trophy at the end, or get a great bonus or whatever. And I'm sure it's the same for you. I'm sure it's the same for most working professionals out there. But it's like, why are you trying to attain that award? Why are you trying to attain that target? It's because you want the financial ramifications attached to that. Is it because it means that you get promotion? Is it because it means that you're seen and everyone in the company now knows who you are? Is it because you want to make a name for yourself? And it's what you personally attach to that validation and how important that is to you. And I think once that's clear in your mind, you're potentially going to be happy with it, or you're potentially going to say, I don't need it. It's not that important to me. What's important to me is what I'm putting out. So, for example, Teddy Talks. The mission for Teddy Talks is that if there's one person out there that listens to our podcast, that really relates to it and can really grow from it or feel empowered from it, or there's some sort of value from what we're talking about, we've done our job. We don't need 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 views. That's not why we're doing Teddy Talks. It's because of the value in what we're talking about and how we're trying to help people, right? Not, oh, we are the number one successful podcast in whatever, in the wellness space or whatever. So it's about the why. I think you've spoken to me about it before, and you've said to me in my most difficult situations, Sidney, you've said to me, why? You know, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Whenever you're like, okay, management have come to me with an opportunity, your first question is why? Why does that impact you? Why do you want to do this? And for the most part, I'm like, you know. So for the most part, I'm really like, you know, I'm going through almost like a computer breaking down. Like, I can't compute. But eventually, it's so important. I know some people might think, it's so deep though. Like, why? I didn't do that on purpose, but do I really need to think that deep into it? Yeah, because there's maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, you might think back and think, I did that for money, but I really wish I didn't. But in the first instance, had we have asked ourselves, why did I go through that? Why did I want to do that? What was my reason for taking that job, for getting in that relationship, for maybe saying yes to an event that I didn't really want to go to? That feeling, you know, we always have this feeling inside us. I'm sure you've been through it. Correct me if I'm wrong if you haven't, but I've had a feeling before. I'm like, can you come to my birthday party, or can you come to my wedding or whatever? And the following day, I may have had a commitment that means something super important to me. But I know that if I go to your event, it's going to make you happy. I've now entered your reasons for being happy as opposed to my reasons for being happy. Not to say that that's a bad thing or that's a good thing. These are the questions that you have to ask yourself that will allow you to potentially move forward and really kind of question whether or not you really, really need validation. For the most part, I think us people, us humans, we struggle to, we struggle to have a feeling, have an instinctive feeling within us and listen to it and act upon it. And I think that may be something that we may need to practice. Certainly me, I know I need to practice that more often than not, and that's really associated to why I seek validation. If I am more comfortable with making decisions with myself, that doesn't really require an expert. I won't feel so bad about the outcome. I'll feel as though learning from that outcome is more valuable than the actual outcome in itself.
Wow.
What do you think?
I think what you just said was powerful, and I was comparing myself to you as you're describing your relationship with validation and how you've become the master of it, and how you're wrestling with it now. And I was thinking, okay, how am I coping with it today? I was thinking about, okay, how am I coping with it today? And I realized that I was wondering, okay, I started off this conversation by saying that I looked at myself 10 years ago, rewinding the clock, and whilst I appreciate I did the things that I was doing then because of cultural norms, because I've now matured, so I wouldn't do those things then. But actually, if I could play devil's advocate with myself, and if I was to be, really, really super self-critical, and ask myself, why? Let's ask yourself multiple questions around why you don't post, right? And there would be a lot of underlying things there. It's not just one, I've matured. It's like, two, there's another thing there. There's the feedback loop I was getting wasn't the same. Maybe when I was younger, I used to get hundreds of birthday messages. I don't get hundreds of birthday messages anymore. Right?
You want hundreds of birthday messages?
Yeah, I want if you're listening, you better say happy birthday.
It's gone now.
It's gone.
Well, how many messages did you get? Did you have a good amount?
You missed it this year. I should have posted on my story. I should have told the whole world, it's my birthday, people. But no, subconsciously, that probably is a thing, right?
Yeah. It's like, why should I now?
Why should I now?
Because nobody's even responding to it anyway.
Yeah. But to be completely honest with you, I don't care about that. I don't want hundreds of birthday messages from some people who I don't hear from in God knows how long. What am I seeking validation on today? And I think on a day-to-day basis, when I look at myself in the mirror and I speak to you and I speak to, my dear ones, I just want to know that I'm heading in the right direction in life. I get asked the question a lot of times, oh, Sidney, Teddy's been on TV a lot, he's been on Love Island, he's done this, he's done that. Why? We see a lot of you in Teddy. Why aren't you doing it? And I give them a very standard answer, which is real. I don't believe that was my path. I genuinely don't believe that was my path. You know, I think I could have done it, but I don't want to. I think there is something here for me to do with people on a large scale, and whether that is through, you know, distilling things that I learn and then sharing it through our conversations, or through, you know, maybe in the future through content that I post either on YouTube, or I'm still figuring it out, just like you're figuring it out.
But I don't think you correct me if I'm wrong. It's not that you don't want to, right? I think it's more of a fact that you are focused on other things, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm prioritizing.
Because at the end of the day, most people here would be like, if you don't want to, then why did you go on Love Island? Why did you accept that? Why did you go and see him on Love Island? So I don't necessarily think it's the fact that you don't. And this, do you know what, guys? I'm just speaking because I know him. It's not necessarily as bleak as I don't want to. It's more of a fact that you are really focused on other things. You're focused on properties. You're focused on your work. You're focused on your mission within NLP and helping other people, which is why you're probably sat here today. It's got an underlying thing with that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
So it's not that you don't necessarily want to, and don't let me put words into your mouth. I think that there hasn't been a space where you would be able to add value in projecting yourself to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million people that are following you.
Yeah, I like
because
to,
it's that, right?
I like to move with intention. That's exactly it.
Not to say that I went on
Love Island,
no,
I'm not saying that.
However, correct me if I'm wrong. There is a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of people that maybe have gone into the public eye through Love Island, Too Hot to Handle, whatever you want to call it, dating shows and whatever, that have fallen off because their initial intentions was, I just want the fame, I just want the money. They may not have got that in the first instance, and there wasn't any real intention behind why they wanted it beyond the materialism that can fade like this. You know, we know for a fact that money comes and goes. Like, that's just a given, and you won't know that until you've had money. I'm not saying that to be condescending, but I'm just saying that in reality, you know, we came from nothing as a family. So I just feel as though just where you have said that you know you don't want to kind of potentially be in a public eye. You're in a public eye.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was talking about in the context of following your footsteps. You know, in the exact footsteps.
Why don't you go on Love Island?
Yes, yeah. Why?
And you're like, fuck that.
Yeah. It's not in that exact words, but yeah. And you know, it's the other thing. It doesn't feel exciting to me because you're an extension of me, and I feel I'm an extension of you, and 100%. You going through it, I feel like I've experienced it. Mm-hmm. It's not new to me anymore. Mm-hmm. I want to experience something new, and I've been seeking validation on new things this year and last year, crossing this chasm, if that's the word. I can't remember. Chasm, yeah.
I don't know what that means, my bro.
Yes, this. I think it means space between two things.
Space between two things.
Yeah, I think so.
I like that.
Maybe we'll see if this whiskey holds true later. We'll check on Google.
I'm gonna check
right now whilst I'm talking.
Whilst you're talking.
You know, crossing that from 2023 to 2024, You know, I've been seeking validation on public speaking. You know, more recently
With the NLP?
with the NLP and the Next Gen U seminars.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Which is what? I know what it is, people, just so you don't think I'm ignorant. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's a series of seminars catered towards the youth, you know, the teenagers and you know the young adolescents who don't really have any perhaps any role models, or perhaps they come from struggling backgrounds, and they need a sense of direction. And you know, we help them with a series of activities through
Which is what
through a mentoring program
we went through.
we went through that. And what inspired Next Gen U was, as Teddy said, we were mentored by Ken Wade. He's Christian Wade's father, a rugby player, recently transitioned to the NFL in America, but now he's come around full cycle.
Playing for London Wasps.
He's playing London
England
Wasps
player as well.
Exactly.
We like
England
to give
player,
flowers
England
to you, Christian. Ken.
He's done a lot of amazing things, and now he's playing rugby in France, in Paris. The name of the team has left my mind. But we've been giving a series of seminars, and I've had to push myself. I've given like presentations, like in the corporate world, in front of like directors and CFOs and CEOs, and like,
one literally 24 hours before you were told that you
we won't even get into that, but it happens. But I pushed myself in other ways in terms of public speaking. I know that I don't enjoy it. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
People may come up to me afterwards and say, "Hey, you're fine in that," but in my head, I hated every second of it. I was sweating, and
let's use the word anxiety, not to say that you have anxiety day to day, but you had an anxiety because I remember you speaking to me about it 24 hours before going into it. It's like, I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out and whatnot. So yeah, and honestly, I give you your flowers, Sid, because there's so much that you've gone through. There's so much that you battled through that makes me think, damn, this guy's a real superhero, because you battled through a lot mentally, and the validation that you always push through, the things that you battle through is very similar to me, but for some reason you seem to have a better handle on it than me, which is why I always ask you for advice on a day-to-day. I don't think I'll ever stop asking. I don't have
a better handle on it. It seems that way.
I make it look exactly like what you were just saying. It always seems that way. It's always like, oh my God, he just did this, and it's like,
that's how everyone else is living life.
Yes,
they make it look like it's going well. It's generally not, though.
Is everything all right? Is everything okay?
No, but I can focus on all the negative things, right? But I mean, if I was my 21-year-old self and I was looking at my position now, I'd be like, boy, hey, you're doing all right.
Yeah. Really nice car. Nice. He's bought his house.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's fine. But being super critical of myself, no, I'm not happy with how things are going. I want things to be
another level,
at the highest level, and that is me seeking validation from my higher self. And I think that's what we should always be doing. What is this highest version of yourself, and what would he or she be saying to you right now?
Oh, you asking me right now?
I wasn't asking you, but it was.
Was that a rhetorical
you might as well
question?
It now, though.
Shit! It was a rhetorical question, and I just dubbed myself in it. I don't know what I want from myself moving forward in terms of like the the highest state of being, if you like.
Is that because you haven't made time to really think about it?
No. Don't get me wrong. I know what I want within 2024,
Yeah.
2025.
But I mean, the highest level of if this was a computer game, if this was Elder Scrolls Skyrim,
oh shit, I love that.
and
game.
you were building yourself up from scratch, and you knew all of the superpowers you wanted to give to Teddy, and you knew everything that the empire Teddy was going to build, the sort of family Teddy was going to have, without giving everyone all the details, so no woman can slide in your DM to say, I'm going to give you everything you want, Teddy. I'm going to show you
I
how.
hope that never stops. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No, I'll be honest. I don't ever want myself to stop growing, and I don't want to butcher this, but I don't ever want Teddy Soares to get to a perfect state or to get to a perfect state of being. And the reason for that is because life would be boring. Like I do really, really want to always have an element of learning. I want to go through life knowing that I can always improve on something. Like whether or not that's from a point of view of someone else, understanding someone else. So like right now, me and you, maybe I've talking too much.
No, you talked a lot of great sense.
Okay, like even that grammar, I've talking too much. That's not English, and I know that.
But it's raw.
It's raw. But so in that instance, maybe I've spoken too much and I want to understand more about you. I want to understand more about you so that I can understand more about myself. Like there's things that I could cherry pick from your life and other people's life that can maybe improve on my own life. And I never want that to stop. So even if I have a kid or I have a wife that's stunning, God, please.
That's not what you're just looking for, is it?
No. I was saying, and let me finish. Okay. I was going to say, God, please make sure that the woman is really, really, really has good personality. No. But no, seriously, in all seriousness, someone that I can wake up to and, you know, I smile and she brings everything. Oh, I can't keep
it straight. You killed yourself up when you said you want to have a really nice personality.
It was you. It was your fault. No. But in all seriousness, for me, if life was just perfect and it was just, there wasn't anything for me to like improve on. It's like, why?
So I think that's a great.
I think it's important.
That's a great note to end on the tradition, because you've said that you're not striving for perfection, but you always want to grow. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to learn from you, from my friends and my family, and new things, life that happens to me, experiences, and I don't want to ever stop learning. And I'm really, really grateful for that. What are you grateful for?
Do you know, I'm actually really grateful for the fact that I have people around me that can always put checks and balances in place, even though the validation that we've spoken about have involved me seeking validation, but the people that I have around me have always been able to tell me, like you, for example's sake, my brother would be like, what do you think? He's not ever going to just be like, bleh, and tell me what I want to hear. It's always, no, Ted. What do you think? I have an opinion, but I want you to really go down that path. Whereas like there's people that you could ask, oh, hey, you know, I don't know, my girlfriend is being this way with me, and what do you think? And your friend is going to give you the best version of what you want to hear. And that's not necessarily always going to be valuable. And I'm really, really grateful for the fact that the people that I have around me will always give me real advice. So it would be like, no, you're actually being a dick. Or it will be, yeah, you can potentially handle this situation in this way. So I'm so grateful for the people that I have around me. And that extends from family to friends to management, because they give me real advice. Generally, I have some great people around me, and I will always be happy for that.
Yeah, cheers to that.
But yeah,
cheers to that.
cheers on that.
Cheers to that.
Thank you very much for joining us. And as I say always, every episode, please, whatever you are grateful for, please share that with us. Also, just add in there in the comments why you are grateful for what you are grateful for. And do not forget to comment on your quotation. Give us your quotation so that we can add it into our episode as well. Yeah, any other comments that you want, your most enjoyable part of our session, let us know. And I hope to see you next time as well. Thank you very much.
Peace.
Peace.